Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha, and while I had hoped to start working on my backlog of topics, the Blizzard issue with Blitzchung is simply too prevalent for me to ignore, and there's far too much going on that people should be aware of. Before we dive into the topics of discussion today, I want to take a moment to address my previous video regarding Bobby Kotick. While I made things as clear as I could within the video itself, I very much did not with the video thumbnail and title. This has led to a lot of potentially unwarranted assumptions, and for that, I apologize. It's never my intention to clickbait, but it seems that's exactly what I ended up doing with that video to a certain extent. They were lacking in context, and I should have realized that. So to clarify, and I will post a link to that video in the upper right corner of your screen, I want it made clear in no uncertain terms that an entry in an address book is not a confirmation of wrongdoing, merely an association between the two. And while I usually hate citing trusted sources without any visual evidence to back them up, I recognize that sometimes that is a requirement within this industry. That said, the person that I spoke to has never once been wrong in any of the information they have made me aware of in the past and have proven to be completely reliable to this point. From that person, I was told the following. I can confirm that Bobby was in contact with Epstein. While Epstein collected the contact information with as many rich and influential people as he could, this does not mean it was anything other than a short meeting at some conference. Jeffrey traded in secrets and services. For this, he spent most of his time trying to meet anyone who was worth anything. Bobby was not on the flight lists to the island that we have access to, but they were seen together several times. So this tells me that Kotick's dealings with Epstein were likely to be merely business in nature, and while I pointed out in my previous video the lack of any indication or evidence of Kotick visiting the island, I definitely still implied it, and it was wrong of me to do so. So again, I apologize to my viewers for that. You all expect a high standard from me, and I tend to expect a high standard of myself, and I did not deliver that standard in my previous video. So let's get on to the main topic at hand, because the current situation with Blizzard is bad. I don't recall seeing even the Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA controversy turning into such a complete feeding frenzy online. Blizzard is being eviscerated left and right, and now we are seeing them methodically being backed into a no-win situation. Now let's go through the particulars, and then I'll offer up my perspective on all of this. Links, as always, will be in the description down below. Now, as you all know, or many of you know, this involves a continuation of the public outcry surrounding Blizzard's one-year ban of the Hearthstone esports player Blitzchung, the removal of his winnings from the championship tournament he was playing in, and the firing of 2 casters. This occurred after Blitzchung shouted in a post-match interview, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." The 2 casters, who were quick to hide their faces, were apparently in on the statement as per a Twitter post from Chua Shi-Huang, in which he stated a translation in which the caster said, "Say the 8 words, then we'll end the interview immediately." Since then, much has occurred. We had the Hearthstone caster Brian Kibler release a statement in which he said, "I won't pretend to understand either the intricacies of the geopolitical situation in China and Hong Kong or the full extent of Blizzard's business interests there, but to me this penalty feels like it is deeply rooted in both. The heavy-handedness of it feels like someone insisted that Blizzard make an example of Blitzchung, not only to discourage others from similar acts in the future, but also to appease those upset by the outburst itself. That kind of appeasement is simply not something I can in good conscience be associated with. When I learned about the ruling, I reached out to Blizzard and informed them that I no longer feel comfortable casting the Grandmasters Finals at BlizzCon. I will not be a smiling face on camera that tacitly endorses this decision. Unless something changes, I will have no involvement in Grandmasters moving forward. We also had the issue of all 4 identification options for account deletions going down on the Blizzard website. This was assumed by many to be Blizzard attempting to stem the tide of a mass exodus, but I myself pointed out on Twitter that this was likely due to this being a little-used system probably crumbling under the sudden strain placed upon it. In addition, there was the official Hearthstone statement in which they said, "We are very angered and disappointed at what happened at the event last weekend and highly object the expression of personal political beliefs in any of our events. As always, we will defend the pride and dignity of China at all cost." There was the umbrella protest under the iconic orc statue out front of Blizzard's offices, and the covering of the statements "Think globally" and "Every voice matters" with paper by protesting Blizzard employees. TM Yi, one of the casters who were fired by Blizzard over the incident, ended up in tears during a Twitch stream. In the Reddit post of the clip in question, one user posted the following. The caster's name is M. Yi. He has worked very hard to get where he is today. He is mainly an Overwatch caster who also casts Hearthstone and World of Warcraft. Very talented, and the Hearthstone Taiwan stream's audience absolutely loves him. In the video, he said that he prepared a ton for this weekend's Overwatch Pacific Showdown, as well as the Hearthstone Grandmasters playoffs, but it seems like he will not be casting Overwatch anymore either. He finds the situation very sad. Years of cultivating his passion and hard work may just be gone in vain. And per Dallas News, Dallas Fuel assistant coach Justin Jane Conroy said Wednesday that he was directed to delete a tweet that was critical of punishment levied by Activision Blizzard on a Hearthstone player who voiced his support for the Hong Kong pro-democracy protest movement. And it doesn't end there. There are also reports that people are receiving 1,000-year forum bans for so much as discussing Hong Kong as they are being labeled trolling. Then there was the American University team that held up a Hong Kong protest sign during their tournament match, only to have the live stream quickly cut away from them. The AU players released a statement on Reddit in which they said that they received no retribution over their actions and that TESPA kept them in the tournament and gave them another match. Now, in that statement it reads, "This shows Blizzard's hypocrisy in how it treats different regions. They are hesitant to suppress free speech when it happens in America or an English language stream, but will throw casters and players' livelihoods under the bus if they're from Hong Kong or Taiwan. It should also dispel the idea that Blitzchung was punished for bringing politics into Hearthstone because our message was clearly political and we weren't touched. Blitzchung was punished because China was watching. To clarify one point, our protest was in no way comparable to Blitzchung's. He and all Hong Kongers are putting so much more on the line than we did. Unlike him, we also suggest boycotting Blizzard while his message was purely in support of human rights, yet he is the one Blizzard targeted. This update matters because it suggests Blizzard doesn't want to enforce censorship in front of a Western audience. Yet, I'd be curious to see how they would react if every stream had Free Hong Kong appear on the cams. Could they continue to ignore the outcry of their entire community, or would they get a call from Tencent about the content they were broadcasting? Statements like Amnesiacs, which force Blizzard to respond, are exactly what is needed to pressure them. It is worth noting that, in protest, the AU team have pulled out of the tournament. In addition, the internet has continued to keep the pressure on Blizzard through their usual mix of creative methods. One such method is a proposal for mass GDPR requests, which is a time-intensive and expensive process. Then there are, of course, the constant memes, most notable of which is the internet's efforts to turn Overwatch's Mei into a symbol for Hong Kong protest, an attempt that actually may have succeeded, as it was shown on this Reddit thread that posts a still image from the news site HongKongAppleDaily.com, where one person is holding up a printed image of Freedom Mei with the message, "Mei is fighting for her rights, be like Mei, #liberate Hong Kong." And of course, who could forget that a couple of clever individuals actually opened up a GoFundMe for BlizzCon t-shirts supporting Hong Kong. This GoFundMe, which has already reached half of its funding goal as of recording this, is aimed at having hundreds of these t-shirts distributed free of charge to BlizzCon attendees, with an additional statement that any funds above the goal would be donated to Human Rights Watch. And I'm sure there are massive amounts more than I'm simply missing here. The fact of the matter is, this is an ongoing situation that is developing almost by the hour, and it is, I hope, understandable that some things might not be included. And actually, as I was taking a break to actually eat some food for once, within minutes of my walking away from my computer screen, as a matter of fact, Blizzard released a statement. And please bear with me as I want to read this in its entirety. This statement came from J. Allen Brock, the president of Blizzard. It reads, "Hello, Blizzard community. I want to take a few minutes to talk to you all about the Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament this past weekend. On Monday, we made the decision to take action against a player named Blitzchung and two shoutcasters after the player shared his views on what's happening in Hong Kong on our official broadcast channel. At Blizzard, our vision is to bring the world together through epic entertainment, and we have core values that apply here. Think globally, lead responsibly, and importantly, every voice matters, encouraging everybody to share their point of view. The actions that we took over the weekend are causing people to question if we're still committed to these values. We absolutely are, and I will explain. Our esports programs are an expression of our vision and our values. Esports exists to create opportunities for players from around the world, from different cultures, and from different backgrounds to come together to compete and share their passion for gaming. It is extremely important to us to protect these channels and the purpose they serve to bring the world together through epic entertainment, celebrate our players, and build diverse and inclusive communities. As to how these values apply in this case, first, our official esports tournament broadcast was used as a platform for a winner of this event to share his views with the world. We interview competitors who are at the top of their craft to share how they feel. We want to experience that moment with them. Hearing their excitement is a powerful way to bring us together. Over the weekend, Blitzchung used his segment to make a statement about the situation in Hong Kong, in violation of rules he acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoints in the many places available to express themselves. However, the official broadcast needs to be about the tournament and to be a place where all are welcome. In support of that, we want to keep the official channels focused on the game. Second, what is the role of shoutcasters for these broadcasts? We hire shoutcasters to amplify the excitement of the game. They elevate the watchability and help the esports viewing experience stay focused on the tournament and our amazing players. The third, were our actions based on the content of the message? Part of Think Globally, Lead Responsibly, and Every Voice Matters is recognizing that we have players and fans in almost every country in the world. Our goal is to help players connect in areas of commonality, like their passion for our games, and create a sense of shared community. The specific views expressed by Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made. I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. We have these rules to keep the focus on the game and on the tournament to be the benefit of a global audience, and that was the only consideration in the actions we took. If this had been the opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same. Okay, what could Blizzard have done better, and where do we go from here? Over the past few days, many players, casters, esports fans, and employees have expressed concerns about how we determined the penalties. We've had a chance to pause, to listen to our community, and to reflect on what we could have done better. In hindsight, our process wasn't adequate, and we reacted too quickly. We want to ensure that we maintain a safe and inclusive environment for all our players, and that our rules and processes are clear. All of this is in service of another important Blizzard value: play nice, play fair. In the tournament itself, Blitzchung played fair. We now believe he should receive his prizing. We understand that for some, this is not about the prize, and perhaps for others, it is disrespectful to even discuss it. That is not our intention. But playing fair also includes appropriate pre- and post-match conduct, especially when a player accepts recognition for winning in a broadcast. When we think about the suspension, 6 months for Blitzchung is more appropriate, after which time he can compete in the Hearthstone Pro Circuit again if he so chooses. There is a consequence for taking the conversation away from the purpose of the event and disrupting or derailing the broadcast. With regard to the casters, remember their purpose is to keep the event focused on the tournament. That didn't happen here, and we're setting their suspension to 6 months as well. Moving forward, we will continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcasts remain focused on the game and are not a platform for divisive social or political views. One of our goals at Blizzard is to make sure that every player, everywhere in the world, regardless of political views, religious belief, race, gender, or any other consideration, always feels safe and welcome both competing in and playing our games. At Blizzard, we are always listening and finding ways to improve. It is part of our culture. Thank you for your patience with us as we continue to learn. This was the statement from Blizzard, and it seems measured and cool-headed. It seems completely reasonable, and it is definitely carefully crafted in an effort to help quell the massive outrage that Blizzard's actions have sparked. So first, the timing. Remember that Blizzard's initial decision and statement regarding Blitzchung's actions came on a Tuesday, a full 48 hours after the interview with Blitzchung, which occurred on a Sunday. That decision was not one made in haste, as J. Allen Brock himself claims within this statement. 48 hours is more than adequate time to reflect and to discuss. Their original decision was a measured one, not one made in a knee-jerk state, even though it did seem that way. Secondly, as discussed earlier in this video, the Hearthstone China Twitter account posted the statement, "We are very angered and disappointed at what happened at the event last weekend and highly object the expression of personal political beliefs in any of our events. As always, we will defend the pride and the dignity of China at all cost." Now, I want to reiterate that one for those in the back that might not have been paying attention. We will defend the pride and dignity of China at all cost. To then claim the specific views expressed by Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made, I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision, seems to me to be a direct contradiction in no uncertain terms.
You have manipulated the circumstances with the skill of a Romulan. My decision will be announced at high sun tomorrow. Excellent tea. Good day, ladies.
Especially considering there was the team manager who was instructed to remove his Twitter post supporting the Hong Kong protests. The actions Blizzard have taken were completely disproportional to the offense, and their reaction with such a heavy-handed punishment can, to my eyes, only be seen as an effort to protect their monetary interests in China, interests that total to hundreds of millions of dollars per year. Also, we should all be aware of the timing of this statement made today. It comes late on a Friday. In a standard news cycle, releases like this are only made late on a Friday when those involved do not wish it to be as widely covered, as most people are busy on Fridays with personal plans. Everything about this statement seems designed to duck and dodge, also employing the age-old method known as outdating the outrage. By lessening the punishment as they have, they deliberately outdate much of the online posts concerning the original actions while actually changing very little. Yes, Blitzchung gets his earnings back. However, the casters and Blitzchung are both still, for all intents and purposes, laid off for a full half of a year. He gets his $10K back, so he will likely be able to survive in the meantime if he chooses to come back, which I can't imagine why he would after this. But what are the casters? It seems to me that this is likely a large share of their income that has likely vanished as a result of this punitive action. If I were in their shoes, I would likely be forced to seek either supplemental income, or I would still be forced into a different job altogether, regardless whether it be 6 months or permanently. Blizzard's actions here accomplishes one thing and one thing only. They afford Blitzchung his $10K that he earned. In that statement, J. Allen Brock said, "Moving forward, we will continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcasts remain focused on the game and are not a platform for divisive social or political views." And yet, no punitive measures were taken in any way with the American University team. Of course, there is the get out of jail free card by his saying "moving forward," whereas their refusal to act on the AU players' actions would be chalked up to a temporary leniency in order to avoid further fanning the flames. But what this statement is, what it all amounts to, is nothing more than multiple lies strung together into a core of continued pandering to the communist government of China with just enough truth and feigned compassion to lend it believability. Maybe I might be too cynical here, but J. Allen Brock sounds like nothing more than a
Romulan.
Outdating the outrage, lying, and faux conciliatory actions in an unending string that does nothing except attempt to protect their bottom line. I do not believe J. Allen Brock's sincerity for one single moment. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha, and I'll see you next time.